Welcome learners, this is Sumit Rathod, serving as assistant professor at Sri Villeparle Kelvani Mandas Institute of Pharmacy, Dhule, affiliated to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Technological University, Dibatu, Lonare. Dear learners, today we will going to discuss about hospital pharmacy and its organization. So before moving forward, I would like to present you the learning objectives. So, dear learners, before moving forward, we need to discuss about the learning objective. After the successful completion, the learner could able to get the things related with the hospital organization. So, for discussion point of view, we need to segregate this topic in three important components. In first component, we are going to cover the introduction and definition. In that, we need to discuss about the introduction of hospital pharmacy, definition as per the WHO guidelines, and vital role which has been performed by the hospital pharmacy. In second segment, we are highlighting on the functions of the hospital pharmacy, where we are going to be covered the dispensing of a drug, management of the store, drug distribution system inside the hospital, store arrangement, protocols for the stock checking, and the other important function which mainly includes the inventory control. In third segment, we are going to be discussed about the organization structure. So after completion of this topic of organization structure, learner could able to understand who's who, what are the different protocols of a functional reporting, what are the different segments in the organogram, or we can in organogram structure, and workflow culture of hospital pharmacy. So now we will start with the discussion of introduction and definition. When we are talking about the pharmacy for functionally being categorized into two major groups. The first group is called as a hospital-based pharmacy, whereas the second group is called as a standalone pharmacy or SAF pharmacy. Hospital-based pharmacy or HBP are nothing but these are the pharmacies who are being usually found within the hospital premises, and these are nothing but these are the department, either the services, or either the domain inside the hospital organization who has been efficiently managed by a professionally competent legal qualified pharmacist and supervised by the registered endorsed pharmacist, to whom we are called as the registered endorsed pharmacist. Registered endorsed pharmacists are those pharmacists who are efficiently being registered themselves under the local state pharmacy council. That particular pharmacists are being considered as an endorsed pharmacist, and they are only eligible to work inside the hospital pharmacy department, and they are mainly responsible for managing and supervising the function which has been carried out inside the hospital pharmacy. So the next thing that we need to discuss in introduction and definition is nothing but the vital roles of a hospital pharmacy, or we can say that the vital function of hospital pharmacy. There are n number of functions which has been shown by the hospital pharmacy. The first one is nothing but the supply of medicine, or also we call them as a dispensing of a medicine. It's a responsibility on the shoulder of a hospital pharmacy to supply uninterrupted supply of a medication to each and every part, either it is an inpatient area or either it is an outpatient area, and they have to supply the medicines against the proper documentation they receive. To whom we are called as a proper documentation, a document who has been said by the authenticate person, that particular document only considered as an authenticate document or a proper document, or we can say that an medication order. So against a proper medication order, there is a necessity of a hospital pharmacy. They have to provide or they have to dispense the medication to their customers or to their concerns. Then the next function shown by the hospital pharmacy is nothing but the prescription honoring. So this is another newer, we can say that a modern pharmacy concept, where it's abide to the pharmacy, department. They have to be make sure that there should be 100% prescription honoring. Means they need never to be an unavailability with the any kind of a drug, and must to which kind of a drug which comes under the category of essential drugs. So it's a responsibility. Again, it's one of the important function of hospital pharmacy. They should be 100% prescription honoring without any uninterrupted supply. Then moving further, the compounding of medicine. Next function is nothing but the compounding of medicine. In a compounding of a medicines, nowadays this concept has been while we are discussing about the compounding of a medicine. In a compounding of a medicine, earlier we are the compounding pharmacist, but later on with the increasing the industrialization, lots of the medication we received in a ready-made form. So our role has been changed. from compounding pharmacies to the dispensing pharmacies, where we get all kind of medicines in ready-made form. We just need to honor the prescription, and against that particular proper we can set authenticate prescription, we need to supply the medicines to the customers. So we don't need, at that time we don't need to go for any kind of a compounding of a medicine. Later on, from dispensing pharmacy, our role has been changed nowadays. Apart from the compounding pharmacy, apart from the dispensing pharmacy, we are consider ourselves as a patient counselor. So it doesn't mean that nowadays we are not doing a compounding. Yes, we are doing a compounding today also for certain kind of medical medicines or certain categories of medicines, which mainly includes a very good example is the anti-cancer drug. So for that particular kind of a drug, or if any drug is present in the highest concentration, so before they get administered to the patient, it's the responsibility of a pharmacist to first of all compound them and to reduce their concentration. Then only that particular medicines is get available for the further administration purpose. So this is an important function, we can say that one of the most important function from the hospital pharmacy. Now moving toward the next role, that is nothing but the storage and dispensing of a narcotic and biological products. When we are talking about the storage and dispensing of a narcotic and biological product, narcotics are the drugs which are comes under one act, and that particular act is very important and called as a NDPS Act, Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances 1985 Act is there, and based upon that particular act, it's a responsibility given on the shoulder of a hospital pharmacist. They have to concern about this one, and they have to maintain a proper documentation for the dispensing protocols of this such kind of a drugs. Why? Because they are called as a schedulated drug, and that comes under the category of a Schedule X. That's why it's a we can say that the main role of a pharmacy to have to look after such kind of things. Then moving for the biological product, each mainly biological products mainly includes three categories of medicines: either the vaccines, either the sera, or either the immunoglobulins. Again, this category of a product that comes under the schedulated product, and there should be a separate oversighting, there should be a separate monitoring for that particular drug, or along with that there should be a proper documentation for both narcotic and biological product. So this is also the responsibility given on the shoulder of a hospital pharmacy, and they have to look after these things. Now moving towards the next function, supply and storage of ancillary products. Again, there is some kind of a supportive product or rehabilitation product which has been utilized on a daily basis inside the hospital pharmacy. So not only hospital pharmacy or hospital pharmacy department is concerning about the medicines, along with that they also look after, they also being monitor the supply, or we can say that the proper stock and storage of ancillary product or certain kinds of a rehabilitation product which has been used for certain supportive therapy. Then storage, moving to the next part, storage and dispensing of certain kinds of medicines which has been categorized into either essential drug, either life-saving drug, or either emergency medicines, to whom we are called as essential drug. Essential drugs means those drugs which are being required on a daily basis, and they have to, it's a responsibility of a pharmacy, they have to maintain the proper stock or efficient stock inside their department. Life-saving drug, we never been a shortage for the life-saving drug. If we are the shortage with the life-saving drug, then definitely we are facing the life-threatening situation related with the patient. Same thing will be applicable to the emergency drug. So it's a responsibility of a pharmacy, it's a very important function of a hospital pharmacy. They have being maintained, they have to follow a proper storage condition and proper dispensing protocol for the drugs which are being comes under the category of either essential drug, either the life-saving drug, or either the emergency medicines. We never been stock out for such kind of a medicine. Then moving forward, the another we can say that the important function of hospital pharmacy is nothing but, if we are talking about the hospital pharmacy, for regular basis we need to maintain, we need to supply some kind of a drug, or we need to store some kind of a drug or some categories of a medicine outside the pharmacies. Like we need to store some medicine inside the emergency department. Why? Or in emergency department of hospital pharmacy. Why? So because we need to tackle some of the medical emergency. That's why we need to store some life-saving drug over there. But we can't deny that we are not storing that particular medicine or that particular category of a product inside our pharmacy. So we are not having such kind of oversighting over there. No, this is a responsibility of a hospital pharmacy to have a regular monitoring, to have a regular, we can say that an oversighting of the medicines which has been stored outside the pharmacies in a hospital. So these are the important function, or we can say that a vital role which has been performed by the hospital pharmacy. Dear learner, after the completion of introduction and definition, now it's the time to discuss the function of hospital pharmacy, which is the second segment for our today's lecture. So when we are talking about the function of hospital pharmacy department in a hospital comprises of different services that renders to the patient throughout a number of activities. So it's a correct time to have a look, to have a discussion what are the different activities performed by the hospital pharmacy. The first and the foremost function, or we can say that then responsibility on the shoulder of hospital pharmacy is nothing but the dispensing of a drug. When we are talking about the medication management inside the hospital, so there are the 5 different steps of the medication management, which has been started from prescription, then second one is a transcription, third one is a dispensing, fourth one is a administration, and fifth one is a monitoring. So these are the different steps of the medication management inside the hospital. Out of these 5 steps, the third step that pharmacy is concerning, that is nothing but the dispensing of a drug. So based upon the protocol or based upon the guidelines given by the medication management, it's a responsibility of a pharmacy, or we can say that the responsibility holders, they have to ensure there should be a proper protocol, there should be a proper workflow related with the dispensing of a drug. Then moving towards the next function, that is nothing but the stock checking. Once the medicines which are get available in the hospital pharmacy, it's the duty of a pharmacist to have a regular stock checking without a failure, and the stock checking for the essential life saving or emergency drug on a daily basis. It's a responsibility on the shoulder of a hospital pharmacy that they have to go for the daily stock checking for the dose category of a drug that comes under the category of emergency medical services or emergency medical department. Then the next function shown by the hospital pharmacy is the stock arrangement. Once we received an stock from the authenticate supplier or vendor, it's the responsibility of a pharmacy. They have to segregate the products, they have to segregate the medicines based upon their dosage form, and there will be a facility of a storing of a medicine inside the pharmacy based upon their storage form, and they have been efficiently discriminate that particular product, segregate that particular product, and set according to their concerning location. So this is another function, or we can say that a vital function shown by the hospital pharmacy. Now the next important function which has been shown by the hospital pharmacy is nothing but the drug distribution system or the product. So distribution of a drug or distribution of a medicaments or the products inside the hospital pharmacy of different areas of hospital pharmacy or to the customers of the hospital pharmacy. To understand the drug distribution system, we need to learn the types of the departments inside the hospital pharmacy. So there are the 2 major departments inside the hospital pharmacy based upon the we can say that a pattern of a patient. That is nothing but the first part is called as an outpatient services or outpatient department, whereas the second pattern is called as an inpatient department. Means those kind of a patient which does not require any kind of admission, they are considered as OP services, and those patients who need to be who need an admission inside the hospital, they are called as the IP services. So the distribution of a medication to the to concerning department, either it is OP department or either it is IP department, we have a discrimination, we have a classification of our hospital pharmacy. So it's a responsibility of a hospital pharmacy or the stakeholders of the hospital pharmacy that they have to ensure the uninterrupted supply of a medication to either OP services or either IP services. So this is all about the function of a hospital pharmacy. Now moving towards the management stores. This is another kind of a function of a hospital pharmacy. So hospital pharmacy is also responsible for managing the store which are under their control. So the first thing in a management of the store is nothing but the purchase of drug. We require a medication on a daily basis, so it's a responsibility of a pharmacy to do a proper purchasing as per the protocol given by the medication management inside the hospital. And this recommendation that they received, this recommendation which is received from the pharmacy therapeutic committee. So this is a committee, pharmacy therapeutic committee, or nowadays it is called as the drug therapeutic committee. It's a responsibility of that committee. They have to ensure, they have to supply, or they have to give a recommendation for the proper purchase of that particular drug. Then after receiving the recommendation from the DTC or a PTC, it's a responsibility of a hospital pharmacy to go for the authenticate purchase only. they never go for any kind of a local purchase. For every pharmacy it is abide to them, for every hospital pharmacy it is abide to them, they have to go for authenticate purchase only. Then the next function is nothing but in a management of the store, it's a responsibility of a hospital pharmacy that they have to provide the proper instruction for the storage of a drug. Their main role is nothing but to give the proper storage instruction to the not only the concerning department, or we can say that the inter departments like some nursing station or some emergency department, but along with that their main role is nothing but to provide the instruction to their customers also. Because if you are considering very classical example of thermolabile drugs, they need to be stored at the 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. So it's a responsibility of a hospital pharmacy to has to ensure the proper storage of such kind of a thermolabile drug, and they have to instruct well to their customers to avoid any kind of incompatibility related with their products. Then discussing about the next function in the management of a store is nothing but the maintenance of a proper record of the drug which has been purchased through authenticate purchase protocol, or we can say that a workflow, and after purchasing that particular record has to be carry forward to their concerning department also. Means when any product received to the hospital store or store pharmacy, it's a responsibility of a pharmacist those working at that particular department. They have to segregate out the products according to their location, and they have to share the receipt with that particular location also, so as to they have to cross tally or cross verify the product they receive. So these are the some important function which has been performed under the heading called as a management of. Dear learner, now we entered in our last part of a discussion in this lecture, that is nothing but the organization structure. So the administrative services belonging to the pharmacy department efficiently involves the people from different categories or different areas or location, which mainly includes the operations, pharmacy operations, human resources department, finance department, quality control department, information technology department, marketing department, and project department. So these are the different departments which are being aligned to the hospital pharmacy. So when we are talking about the organization structure, the first person or the first reporting person is nothing but the chief executive officer, who is also called as the CEO. So CEO is nothing but it is head of all these departments. Then just below to the CEO there is another person called as a chief operating officer, or also known as the COO. So the main CEO is mainly belongings to either operation or from finance department. So as to understand the real workflow culture, we need to discuss their organization structure. So the first person is the chief executive officer. Then just below to the chief executive officer there is another person called as a chief operating officer, COO. Just below this CEO, all these departmental heads, either it might be operation people, either it might be HR people, it might be a finance people, there might be a quality control people, that might be a project people, people from IT background, and marketing people. So they have to report, these departmental heads, they have to report to the chief operating officer, and chief operating officer is going to report to the chief executive officer. So which are the different departmental heads are there? We are going to discuss one by one. So the first person in a departmental head, the first head in a departmental, we can say that areas is nothing but the vice president. Just below the chief operating officer, there is another person and who is belonging to the specific department. Means there is a separate vice president for the operation, there is a separate vice president for HR, there is a separate vice president for finance, there is a separate vice president for the quality, IT, and the marketing one. Then next to the vice president, another person is nothing but just below to vice president is senior general manager, is also being a part of administrative services. Vice president and senior general manager, they are the part of we can say that the administrative services or administrative part of a hospital pharmacy. Then next to the senior general manager, there is a general manager who is also called as a GM. Just after the GM, there is a deputy general manager who is also called as and abbreviated as a DGM. After deputy general manager, there is a senior manager. After senior manager, there is a manager, or we can say that a pharmacy manager. After pharmacy manager, there is an assistant pharmacy manager. Just below assistant pharmacy manager, there is a senior executive, and at last, just below senior executive, there is an executive. So this is nothing but the proper organization structure of a hospital pharmacy, who has been efficiently start with the chief executive officer. Just below the chief executive officer, there is an COO. So at least one CEO and one CEO is required, and just below this CEO there is a different departmental heads are working, either the people belonging to the operation, either the people belonging to the HR, either the people belonging to the finance department, either the people belonging to quality control department, either the people belonging to the projects, IT and marketing. So in a previous slide, we will discuss the organization structure of a hospital pharmacy, who is efficiently involved the people from the administrative services, or we can say that the departmental heads. Now we need to discuss the both things over here in the real organogram in this slide, which include the people from administrative services, again the people from the, we can say that the sub administrative services, and the people from the staffing services. So when we are discussing about the organogram of a hospital pharmacy, it always being started with the first person called as a hospital chairman. So who is a hospital chairman? Hospital chairman might be a hospital owner. So he is a, we can say that the center point of our hospital organization, or central point of our hospital pharmacy. So the first person in the organogram is nothing but the hospital chairman. Next to the hospital chairman, there is another person that we already discussed, is nothing but the CEO of that particular department. There is a different CEOs for the different departments. So when we are talking about a hospital pharmacy having their separate chief executive officer. Then just below to the chief executive officer, there is another person called as a COO. That is nothing but the chief operating officer. Just below the chief operating officer, there is an vice president, department wise vice president. Then just below the vice president, there is another person called as a DMS. Now this is a newer thing for us. DMS which is mainly being appointed for the pharmacy department. Why? Because pharmacy department have one committee to oversight the uses of a drug inside the hospital pharmacy, and that committee is called as a drug therapeutic committee DTC, or a pharmacy therapeutic committee PTC. So DMS, who is called as a director of medical services or director of medical superintendent, who is a chairman, or we can say that a chairman person or resource person for this committee, or president for this committee. Then next to the DMS, there is a senior general manager. After senior general manager, there is a general manager. Just below the general manager, there is a DGM called as a deputy general manager. Next to the deputy general manager, there is a senior manager. Next to the senior manager, there is a pharmacy manager. After pharmacy manager, there is an assistant pharmacy manager. After pharmacy manager, just below the assistant manager, there is an senior executive. After senior executive, there is an executive. So these are the people from the administrative services. Now we need to link these administrative services with the staffing services or staffing pattern. So from hereafter, we will start with the staffing pattern. After executive, there is another person called as a junior executive. Then below junior executive, there is a senior supervisor. Then just senior supervisor, there is an junior supervisor. Just below junior supervisor, there is a senior pharmacist. Just below senior pharmacist, there is a junior pharmacist. After junior pharmacist, there is a pharmacy assistant, and last one is nothing but the pharmacy trainee. So when we are talking about a pharmacy trainee is the last person in a hierarchy of a hospital organization structure. So to whom we are considered as a pharmacy trainee? Pharmacy trainee are nothing but these are the graduates. These are the graduates who are recently passed out, and after pass out, they have to join as a fresher to the organization. So for the period of a 6 month, at least for the period of a 6 month, they have been considered as a pharmacy trainee. After the successful completion of their 6 months, this pharmacy trainee are directly being transferred or directly deputed as a junior pharmacist to their concerning department. Now pharmacy assistant. Pharmacy assistant are nothing but these are the people from the non-pharma background and those having a supportive in a services, supportive in a role, and those need to spend around about 5 to 10 years of experience in a pharmacy department. They are called as a pharmacy assistant. Their main role is nothing but to assist the junior pharmacist, senior pharmacist and supervisor level people. Now after the successful we can say that completion of a training period, the pharmacy trainee is get converted into deputed as a junior pharmacist. Then after the year of their completion, after the successful year of their completion, they will be we can say that deputed or upgraded as a senior pharmacist. Then after senior pharmacist, just above the senior pharmacist there is a junior supervisor. So this pharmacy assistant, senior junior pharmacist and senior pharmacist, they have on daily basis their functional reporting is a junior supervisor. Now the functional reporting of a junior supervisor is nothing but the senior supervisor. The functional reporting of a senior supervisor is to the either junior supervisor or executive. If junior executive is not available over there, then senior supervisor can directly report to the executive one. Now executive and senior executive, they have to directly report to the assistant manager. Assistant manager, their direct functional reporting to the pharmacy manager. Pharmacy manager directly report to either senior general manager if it is present in a hierarchy. If it is not present in hierarchy, then they can directly reporting to the deputy general manager. Now deputy general manager has to report on a daily basis to the general manager. Now general manager has to report to senior general manager, and all these people on daily basis, on the interval of 10 days or on weekly basis, they have to report to the, for their functional related activity, they have reported to the director of medical services. Now director of medical services are going to be submit their reports, going to be submit their reportings to the vice president. Vice president, they have collected the different reporting from the different hierarchy, and they consolidate that particular reporting, compile that particular reporting and send it to the CO in form of a MIS called as a monthly information system. Now this information which is be received by the departmental head, each departmental head, it might be operation, it might be HR, it might be a project. So that particular MIS has to be reached to the CEO. CEO has to compile that particular MIS, and final report will send to the CEO, that is the chief executive officer. Chief executive officer analyze that particular reports, and he will directly we can say that answerable to the hospital chairman. So this is nothing but we can say that a typical organization structure for hospital pharmacy. We will completing the part 1 of discussion related with the hospital pharmacy and its organization. So in the next part, that is nothing but part which is related with the layout and design of hospital pharmacy, you need to refer the another presentation. So thank you all for your patience hearing.